Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Let's Play Darksiders 2. We've newly minted our new possessed scythe, the beam saber, because there's no sword, and a scythe is the best chance we'll get to make that joke, and our newly minted possessed fist weapons, Mr. Lister. Right here we have a tricky trap pit. It's an ascent in which the floor, full of fire and spiked rebar, is gonna chase us up. If we make a single mistake, we will just straight up fail this section. It won't kill us, but it will reset us to the bottom and we have to do it over. It can be a little bit harsh. Also, really heavily rubber bands to catch up with you near the end, so even if you slow down when the coast looks clear, you can still fail this section pretty easily. Like, it looks like we have a pretty good lead, but look at how it's catching up now. And it's going even faster now. But we got that on our first go, which is pretty good. And now we come out into a more open section of the city. Because up till now it's felt a little claustrophobic, a little more like a labyrinth rather than a full-blown city. Still not terribly inhabited, except by things that want to shred us and eviscerate us, but the openness of the architecture lends a little bit more context to the environment, which is a part of level design that kind of gets ignored a lot in favor of like the layout and the environmental storytelling. Context is important too. And while we fight off this stalker, I've alluded a couple of times to scaling level loot, but I don't think I've ever actually explained what I mean by that. So, no equipment other than the returning abyssal armor pieces scale up once you discover it. There are, or were, not sure if they still are, some New Game Plus only legendaries, which they may have changed around in Definitive Edition. That's the only thing that makes me a little uncertain. By the way, these guys should look familiar. The Plague Burster enemies from DS1, they're kind of similar, a little bit less scary since we have no means of actually clearing the Plague aura off of them. Not like the Crossblade from Tiamat's dungeon. So they're a little less intense to get up close and personal with. Eventually their little vortex of pestilence will wear off, but even if we do stand in range of both of them for a little while, it's not the worst. We won't take the most damage in the world. Yeah, so there are some New Game Plus only legendaries. But what I was talking about with the fact that things don't scale, this is part of what makes possessed stuff so good, is they break that fundamental rule in a way. They are powerful by default, and they are very long-lasting, and they're malleable, and that's all balanced out by their rarity. You level them up, remember, by feeding them other items. Makes them relevant for longer. Now, as far as chest drops and drops from enemies go, they scale to your level to an extent, I believe. There's a system in place, from what I'm aware of, that caps the levels for drops per zone. So, like, you can't reach the level cap and then go back to the Forge Lands for capped, like, level 30 gear. There's an upper limit to how they will scale. It's either that or the chests scale to your level, but enemy drops do not. I'm not sure which. I think it's the former. Could be the latter. Because I've seen level-appropriate gear in low-level areas sometimes, and sometimes low-level gear. But again, I think that's just they scale up to a certain point. Up to a certain cap. We're going to pop the Soul Splitter form for efficiency so we can just warp back up to the high ground after we open this chest up. Instead of having to climb the opposite end of the room and do the wall run all over again. And if you looked carefully in the hub room that we spent so much time running all around in the previous episode, you would have noticed a spot to redirect a beam to, which is curious because there was no statue in that room. So there was nowhere to place a lantern. There was nowhere to start a beam. Unless there was this room above it with an elevator. So our goal now is everything... This is really cool. Everything is still revolving around that central hub, even though we've strayed so far from it now. We just came from a room that is directly above it. So our goal now becomes... How do we get the elevator to go down to that lower floor and open up the door to the boss on the lower floor with a beam? That's easier said than done. There's a little bit of crystallized corruption blocking the lever, which lowers the elevator. So we have to go way far out of our way just to destroy that. And coming up here, there is an incredibly cleverly hidden secret. Notice how these walls flip around. If you think carefully, then you might realize, well, there has to be something on the other side of the walls, right? And you would be correct in thinking that. Especially since we can just sit here. Like, there's no pressing need, there's no hookshot point. We can just sit there and then switch to the other soul and get off the switch so it takes us to the other side of the fucking wall. It's so good. It's like, what a wonderfully inventive little puzzle that is to get us to a really well-hidden secret. And this well-hidden secret reveals to us the first of 4 collectibles. Ooh, even the moving the statue closer, we're still getting that wavy screen effect just for a second. This is a Nomad's gnome, a mysterious gnome statue left by Nomad. Nomad, Joe Mad. Yeah, you get it. That is one of 4 very well-hidden gnomes, which are maybe some of my favorite collectibles for how well they are hidden. And then the actual puzzle is to not flip the foothold back around, but to actually just traverse the gap. God, that's so good! That's maybe one of my favorite parts of the whole dungeon, to be honest. There are a couple of great things about this dungeon. That is maybe the best. God damn. So clever. I appreciate that design. And I'm going the wrong way. Cool. I'm just gonna do a little bit more platforming. Whoop, go down. So somebody's been pointing out that only 4 sets of those eyes on the doors do not light up, which may correlate to the horsemen, which, if that's the case, is a pretty nifty detail. On one that I'm really surprised anyone picked up on. So we are going to rotate and redirect the beams, our favorite of activities here in the Land of the Dead, and in the Darksiders series as a whole, simply so we can access this door as our only other means of progression right now. I mean, our only other means of legit progression. We need a key to open a locked door, you know, the whole deal. A door that we could very, very easily jump behind. Remember, doors, like puzzles, are more like suggestions than rules. The Scarab hulks here. I actually found a pretty cool concept art blog that happens to mention the Scarab hulks quite a bit. And it gives some fascinating insight into the art of the game, of games in general, at like the concept level. So like he lays out a sheet of designs for the Scarab Hulk, all slightly different variations on one another. And then submits those, gets direction on them, like he'll get told, okay, this thing is supposed to be bipedal. You drew it standing on all fours or all sixes or whatever. So back to the drawing board for the first time. Lays out a sheet of like 10 different bipedal designs, and then the direction is, okay, we like this, I don't know, this torso from number 7, but this, I don't know, the head from number 8, so can you combine those together? And that becomes the basic concept for the Scarab Hulk. Like that process of combination of different designs and iteration. It's really cool. So we need to making sure there's nothing in the corners. I know where to throw the bomb. And there's just a lot of other details on that blog. Like that's where the detail about the one maker being inspired by Willie Nelson comes from. It lays out something that Joe Mann told him: always go for cool over correct. Like the proportions don't always matter the most if you can make them cool. Which is a philosophy that shines so much in his work. Oh, there's some concept art that shows the Crowfather in his initial iteration being like hulking and bestial. These big iron talons and a skull crow mask. But that was deemed to be like too intimidating. He was supposed to be frail and weak. And not so imposing. Oh, and something else I learned from that blog. A lot of the creatures that I assumed were reskins in Darksiders 2 actually aren't. They're new models designed to reuse some animation rigs from Darksiders 1. Like, they're still reused assets, but they're not the assets that I assumed they were. Not every enemy, by the way. I'm not saying that for every enemy. Just a couple that I assumed were reskins. I think the Stalkers are among them. Like, they reuse some animations from DS1, but and some of the rigging, but not the actual model. Oh, we still have to turn in a Book of the Dead chapter to Vulgrim. We've forgotten to do that. The way that works is... That's absolutely not how this works. You just sell the chapter once you've completed it to Vulgrim, and he gives you a key for a Tomb of the Dead, which is normally just a very small room with a lot of really good treasure. Some of them have some legendary talismans in them that are quite good. Okay, we'll head up here. And... oh god, is that mark an indicator that there is a Soul Arbiter scroll nearby? Not that I necessarily need them, even if I want to do the Soul Arbiter's maze, since they are not the directions aren't randomly generated. So if you really want to do that and you want to skip picking up yet another set of collectibles, you can just look the directions to go up in the maze. So we have another one of these puzzles. We encountered one of these, I believe, very early on in the dungeon. It's going to be another puzzle where we need to use Soul Splitter, get the statue on top of the movable object, and then push that around to get past the gate. So first off, we are going to toss this outside the gate, and then we're going to cancel. Oh, yeah, there it is. Sacred Scroll. Yeah. Might as well get it if we stumble across it, but no pressing need for it. We're going to break Soul Splitter form, then immediately trigger it again once we get on top of the pedestal. And then you notice there are two switches down here. One controls the close gate, the other the far gate. It's the far gate. Goes far, get it? Not getting sued. Let's just line this up before we go back to the Teal Soul, and then he'll go to the other switch. Nice idea for a puzzle, something that we've seen before, so it only builds on it very slightly. It's a slight variation of what we've done already. But I like these puzzles a lot. I think they're cool. So no complaints from me. And this is how we get to the other side of those 2 gates. And finally, we pull one more switch. This lowers this gate. And the main thing this allows us to do, we have done all of this just to get to this one bomb, just to lower that one gate, just to blow this little bit of crystallized corruption up so we can get this down to the lower floor. That seems like an inordinate amount of effort to go through, but it's all what is required of us. We had to go through like a billion different rooms for all that. Very, very elaborate. But we are soon to get our payoff. In view is where we need to redirect the beam to get to the boss room. Oh, I'm rotating this the wrong direction. I only needed to rotate this once to get to that. Whoops. Not like it matters too much. Now, is there anything left to the City of the Dead before we hit the boss? I do not think so. There are a couple of boxes to destroy. Got a little health potion. Not exactly the most bountiful of boss fountains. Appreciated nonetheless, though. This boss shouldn't be too tough. Unless the camera freaks out, which it does sometimes. It's not consistently bad, but it's it can get a little hairy. The City of the Dead is, apparently, really the corpse city. The Wailing host Fhtagn. So aside from his absolutely stunningly cool design, the Wailing host is not a very interesting fight. We will repeat what we just did and what we are about to do 3 times in total. He'll try to slam his fist down, do a couple of swipes, some stuff like that. At some point we will do enough damage either to his fists or his face, which takes like double damage, to stun him for a second. The next time we do that, it will get a QTE. And then it'll initiate this phase where he retreats back into his, I guess, Well of Souls. No, the Well of Souls, you'll see. But he retreats, summons an army of ads, then we resume with this phase again. And it repeats, alternating like that 3 times. This is okay. I wanted to get to a better position because I felt like the camera was getting cramped, like it is wont to do sometimes in this fight. Oops. So, fun fact about the Wailing Host, this extremely cool design was supposed to be Fhthagn's. Remember Fhtagn from Darksiders 1, who's a minor antagonist? We encountered early in the game, during the apocalypse, and then as a proper boss fight during the Black Tower. Yeah, that was supposed to be this design, which is much, much better than Fhthagn's. But luckily this design, as cool as it is, finally made it into Darksiders 2. It would have been a shame for this thing to have been cut forever and lost to the ages. You know, I have the art book for Darksiders 1 sitting on my shelf. I'm not sure if there is a corresponding one for Darksiders 2. So, if there is, then, I don't know, maybe this design, if it had been cut forever, wouldn't have been lost to the ages. Maybe it would have just wound up in that art book. really have to fucking look up if there's an art book for this game. On top of just being lovely, art books are usually filled with a lot of nice information. I glean a lot of info from art books for games that they are available for the ILP. So one minor thing will change from here on out. These wailing serpents who have been circling the arena all fight, they'll start to join in the fun. Often you will see a glyph glow beneath your feet, and after a couple of seconds, like so, the wailing serpent will pop up and try to knock you off your feet and do a little bit of damage. It's just an extra way of harassing you near the end of the fight. That 1-2 punch. I avoided the serpent, I think, but I avoided right into a punch. So, whoops. Also, the skeletons seem to be still coming at this point. But we just need to do a little bit more damage, and we got the circle prompt, so let's end this. Wunderschmash! We got the Wunderschmash! And the Abyssal Forge is unlocked now from the main menu. It is a DLC campaign, which is bundled with the Definitive Edition. God, saying definitive instead of definitive causes me to fuck up words more often than I usually do.
Horsemen, I believe you called. Father, I am the one you seek. And where else would I be but the city of the dead? Would you like to ask a question? Or just stand there like you've seen a ghost?
Tell me how to reach the Well of Souls.
The Well of Souls is a place of unimaginable power. The key to life and death, of creation itself. And that is why the well has a key of its own. One that was divided long ago. The angels keep one half, and the demons the other. And never shall the two meet. Unless you truly mean to save your brother.
To save war, I would storm the White City.
Of that I am more than certain. But there is no need. The angels have realms beyond the White City, as the demons do beyond their dark kingdom. All will become clear to you once you reach the tree.
I've already done that, Crowfather.
Nevertheless, you must find the tree again, and go wherever it takes you.
Absalom lives.
Yes, Absalom lives on. His rage and agony spread as corruption, and he will unmake all of creation to destroy the balance.
I killed Absalom once, Crowfather. If I could go back, I would see him spared.
I doubt he would grant you the same courtesy.
How can I restore humanity?
The Well of Souls is where all life begins. Where the souls of the dead are born into their new lives.
I killed the beast that haunted this place. I freed the souls of humanity.
And in other times, that would be enough. But something draws power from the well, leaving only void where there once was life. I fear you have only released the souls into further torment.
Then there is no hope. Humanity is lost.
Not so. Even now, you carry with you the power to restore the well.
The Nephilim?
If you sacrifice their souls, yes. They alone have the power to undo what was done.
So I must sacrifice the Nephilim, my kin, to restore mankind?
The Nephilim are dead, by your own hand. That broken talisman is all that remains. Would you leave them to eternal torment in that cage upon your chest? Make haste for the tree.
That chime plays at the exact wrong time. Right in time to undermine the tension of that dramatic speech. Would you leave them to eternal torment? Bum 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 bum. Anyway, we are done with the Land of the Dead. We're heading back to the tree. And this time it is to take a portal to a different land. To a land called Lost Light. No longer the Tree of Light, it is the Tree of Death from this side.
Not so fast, horseman.
You're following me.
So I am. I will remain here at the tree, should you have need of me on your quest. And dust has a beak for more than corpses, horseman. Follow him, and you will find the key.
Follow dust, find the key? Can't be that easy, Crowfather.
You may be right, Death. The future is a secret even I cannot keep. Make haste for the tree.
Nope, it's not this one. It's the one further ahead to the right. And apparently this is no place for a horse, so this is a place for a lot of rolling. Lost Light. A+ for naming. And you know what Lost Light is? We're going back. We're going back to the Bibble.
I don't recognize this place. Where have you taken me?
This place is called Lost Light. It is an outpost, far beyond the gates of heaven. And it is here that the angels have hidden the key to the Well of Souls.
Why?
There are some amongst the angels who would use the key for their own purpose. So it was hidden here to safeguard it from their schemes. Or so they hoped.
The well has power over all life?
It does. Though I suspect there is more to your question. Go on, Ryder. Ask it.
The Four never knew of the well. Why was it kept from us?
For fear of what you may have done with that knowledge. The Nephilim could not be allowed to ravage creation any longer. They needed to stay dead.
Then the well can bring them back.
And so we get to the root of it. Yes, the well is the fount of all life. Angel, demon, mankind, even Nephilim. But from their blades they wrought chaos. And from that was born corruption. You were right to destroy them. I will remain here at the tree, should you have need of me on your quest.
Pretty welcome shift in style and color palette. We'll get more into that next time as we explore Lost Light. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take it easy. Have a good one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. It helps out. And I enjoy the community. Peace, everyone. Have a good night.